Good evening, everyone. I was gonna say good afternoon, but that's not afternoon. Okay, let's get this started. Um, so this evening, I don't know how many of you were with us last week when we went over some of the self-assessment items. Could the individuals who were not here last week, can you just raise your hand by using the little emoji reaction buttons at the bottom? That way I know how many people were not here last. Oh, there's a lot of people. Okay, awesome. All right. So majority of you were not here last week, which is fine. Last week, just a little overview. We talked about self-assessment and we went into discussions about mental health and what mental health is. And then we also talked about, creating that plan of action and what self-improvements you need to make for yourself to live a healthy and well life. But before we go into that, let's go and do a little bit of introduction. So those of you who were not here last week, can you put your introduction in the chat? Put down your name, if you know your clan, that would be great. Where you're from, and then what college you're at. Okay, that will be helpful for everyone. You just put that in there. Then I'll read them off as we go along. Jade Yazzie, awesome, welcome. Shannon McBroom, Muskogee Creek, awesome. And then let's see, who else is there? No, there's more of you. Who else is there? Keep on putting those. There you go. Sorry, my internet's lagging a little bit. We have a lot of people putting their introductions in the chat. So last meeting, we went around and we introduced ourselves. And there was a lot of people who were in the same place and they didn't realize that, there was people in their same college, so they got to connect. Let's see. Okay, let's go into introduction. Shayna Nez, Arizona State University. Desmond Loving, Oklahoma City. Amanda Pond, United Tribes Technical College, Elementary Education, Oglala Sioux. Kaylee Nail Ganda, Chickasaw Nation, OU College of Medicine. Andrea Storer is from Anchorage, Alaska, and you are in Newport. And then Madeline's from Northern Arapahoe from Wyoming and is based at IAIA in Santa Fe. Amanda Rice is first year BSN student at Salish Kootenai College in Pablo, Montana. Donna Nez from the Kiowa Tribe, attending Northwest College in Washington State. Let's see. Andrea Storier, Montana State University in Bozeman. Alyssa Nakade, the Navajo Technical University. Kaylin Naquin, Loyola University, New Orleans. Kiana Hastine, and attending NAU. Awesome. So keep those introductions coming in the chat. It's really helpful so you understand and you know that maybe there's someone nearby who's in the same college as you and you can connect, or if you need someone as a support, that person can be there to reach out to you. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my introduction. My name is Jacqueline Salabai. I am living currently in the Flagstaff area, and Kiani Nishla Tachini Bashishching Kabahen Edichiche, those Wooditini Edishinella, with Asa Shua. So I am Towering House, born for Red running into the Water Clan. My Chays are Edgewater, and my Nollies are Bitterwater. And so that is who I am as a Indigenous Diné woman. And I'm originally from the Lower Greasewood area, and I was born on the reservation, but I was raised in border towns, and I live and work in Flagstaff, Arizona. Right now, I'm coming to you from Louisiana. I'm actually here in New Orleans, and you know, alongside the Mississippi River. And to my understanding, a lot of the tribes from around here would gather here. And so it's a really awesome place to be right now this evening. So today I want to go through clanship connections. And so if we could put our clans, I'm going to create a what you call it. I'm going to create a. How many of you all know your clan? Your clanship? Could you all put a, let's see, what kind of reaction should we use? Put a heart symbol if you know your clans. If you could do that right now, that will kind of give me an idea. Whoa. Sorry, you got to bear with me tonight because I have this little cough and it's not due to any type of sickness. It's just from the dry, cold air. Okay, awesome. So I really enjoy hearing everyone's clan and where they come from and what tribal affiliation you are, because it brings a sense of kinship and a sense of connection when we state those. Even though we might be from different tribal affiliations, it still brings us together as Indigenous people. And so I really like to start off the gathering by sharing that. But also for those who are like tribes, it's really nice to hear where you come from, and like those who introduced in the Diné language, since we understand, you know, what clanships you come from and kind of what the characteristics are and what, you know, who's related to who. It really does bring a sense of connection. So I heard some of my grandmothers and I heard some of my aunties on there. So it's really awesome to hear that. And I like to relate to other clanships from other nations by way of what's affiliated. And so, as you know, with Indigenous populations, everything around us, we have relationships to. And so even though you're from another tribe, you might be from, you know, you said that one individual said the Pecan Society. And I remember one of my colleagues who was of a turtle clan. And so I relate that back to my clan and where I come from and what my clans are made of, and also the protectors of my clans, what animals are my protectors. And so a lot of my clans are water clans, and that kind of just goes back to who are our caretakers of the water and who are relatives that live in the water, who are those individuals. And so that's how I make my connections with other clanships. And so kind of listen in when other individuals are making their introductions. Our other Indigenous populations, listen to their clans really closely because it can kind of give you a sense of building those connections and that sense of belonging, and that we're all connected in this space and time. And that just kind of gives me back, it points me back into the discussion about creating belonging, but also creating a safe space. And so the time we spend together, I always like to create a space where we're able to come together in a safe manner. And so that goes back to our guidelines, and the guidelines and rules and regulations that we have in place for meeting times. Of course, that's a Western perspective, but also when we come together in circle and ceremony, it's really those unsaid norms that we have in place, you know, those teachings that were brought by aunties, uncles, grandmothers, grandfathers, parents when you were younger, saying, you know, you don't do this or you don't do that in ceremony. And so having that sense of respect for one another is really important. And so I know the last time we came together, we did guidelines, and I know a majority of you here tonight are new. So I would really encourage you to go to menti.com and type in this code 23281782 and type in some words that you think we could implement into our discussion here to create a safe space and a sense of comfort and belonging. Okay. Bailey, Brady, I'm seeing your chat. It's not letting you in. Oh, it's not working. Interesting. Let me see. Hold on one second. Let me stop my share real quick. And let me go to the website. That's weird. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Let's try it again. Go ahead and I think it's giving me a new code. Let me see. Hold on one second. No, not 2328. Okay, giving me this code. Let me give you a new code. Hold on. Has to give me a whole new code. Okay. So the new code is I'll put it in the chat. Hold on. New code is 26104742. I'll give you 2 minutes to go ahead and enter some thoughts, some suggestions about how to create a safe space for our meeting time. 2 minutes. So it's called menti.com. MENTI, menti.com. And you just enter in this code 26104742.
Hello.
The next questions will be.
I can't get in.
Did you go to menti.com?
Okay. Where do I go? I'm new at this Zoom, so I'm having a little bit of a difficulty. Right now, beneath you, I see the mic, start video,
Mhm.
participant, share screen, reaction, apps, whiteboard, and more. And then
Hmm.
it says leave. Um,
There's no chat.
no, there's no chat.
Okay. Go to
Okay,
www.menti.com.
hold on. Can you give me that again? Because, like I said, I'm new to this Zoom program, so can I
Are you
have
on a
that address?
computer?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you have your cell phone
Yes.
or a cell phone? Go ahead and go to, do you want to write it down? So www.men, like men, ti.com.
MEI?
Men, men, menti, menti.com.
I gotta get to this program.
Okay, I'm going to start reading off the items. So I think the last time we had suggestions saying um, building trust with one another, no judgment, judgment-free zone, um, anonymous responses that everyone can see, establishing relationships, confidentiality, security, feeling understanding of one another, and no judgment zone, sharing the talking floor with others, and be kind to everyone regardless of gender identity and sexual orientation. That's a very big um, item that we need to be aware of because you got to be very careful of the words that you use and no shaming, no blaming. That's really important in these spaces. You respect one another, respect confidentiality. Whatever is said here stays here. And so if someone shares a story by chance, making sure that we're not sharing or repeating that information or creating gossip that might be harmful to any individual. Let's see, allow me to be frank about my own circumstances, not sugarcoating it. So just being real and sharing the truth, right? I know a lot of us go through some or have gone through some difficult times, and not everything should be sugarcoated, and some things we just have to be real with and just state it straight out, right? Um, everyone's opinion, having respect for everyone's opinion, respecting pronouns, trust. I like to put my pronouns in my Zoom. If you can see my name right down here, right down here. I like to put my pronouns in parentheses right after. So that way when someone is referring, I don't remember things. And if you have a different pronoun than mine, it's easy for me to remember and look at your name with your pronouns behind your name. Trust, confidence, no judgment. I see a safe space as a group of people who don't judge you. They don't make fun of you or reprimand you for your problems. A good example is when me and my 3 friends would group together and just talk about our problems. Open discussion, encouraging each other, love, healing, and supporting each other, meaning differentiating opinions don't cause a fight. Just because our opinions are not the same, even though we might disagree, that it's okay because not everyone's the same and we're going to have different opinions. Welcoming environment, be yourself, understanding, listening, respect, listening, trust, don't ask personal questions, open communication. Let's see, respect, open-mindedness, be respectful and polite to each other, creating room for good energy, be aware of ourselves, what we want and need in our space, make it anonymous, safe space, being respectful of everyone's voices, listening, support, respect, care, inclusive, pronouns. I think in order to create a safe space, there needs to be mutual respect, no judgment zone, share ideas freely. Anonymous written responses. What is said in Menti stays in Menti. Exactly. Having an open mind to everyone's opinions, keeping an open mind, understanding everyone's culture and beliefs, and keeping confidentiality. Don't be a somehow indigenous creature. That's good too. Don't be all somehow. So remember, don't be judgmental. Be a good relative. Yes, and keep an open mind. Hope, love, faith, and giving others a chance to be vulnerable if they allow it. Those are all great and important pieces that we need to make a safe space. And so now you kind of understand what I'm talking about in terms of, creating that sacred circle when you go into ceremony or into an important traditional ritual that you might have. And so today, again, I invite you into this space. And so what I like to do is I like to visualize that we're all coming together and we're all sitting in a circle. If I was there with you in person, we would all be sitting around in a circle so I could see your faces and you could see everyone from every dynamic, right? And so just imagine that you're sitting there and you have individuals beside you and we can all see each other in the same room. Okay, and so moving forward, I'm going to go back to the presentation and we can continue. So we created our guidelines. Now let us go and recap last session quickly. We talked about mental health, and I know there's a lot of stigma associated with mental health. A lot of people think, oh, when you talk about mental health, you're crazy, or when you talk about it, that means you're this way or that way, or you're somehow, or, something's wrong with you. But the reality is mental health is a part of us. It really does make up that piece of us. And coming from a traditional perspective, everything that I do and everything that I represent and my whole being is wrapped up all into one. And so when I go to the doctor for something that's physical, it's also impacting my spiritual, my emotional, and my intellectual health, right? And the same thing with mental health. If there's something wrong and I'm experiencing some anxiety, some depression, then that's also impacting the other areas of my whole health, my physical, my emotional, and my intellectual, as well as those other outlying areas such as my social, my financial, my occupational, my environmental. And so when one thing is a cause for concern, such as my mental health, something's happening, it's going to impact my whole being and it's going to impact all of these different areas. So it's really important that we know and we understand what exactly mental health is. So mental health includes our emotional, our psychological, our social well-being, but it encapsulates, let me say it right, encapsulate all of our whole being, right? It's basically everything that we are. And it affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. And sometimes we might exhibit these behaviors that are cause for concern. We might be eating a little bit too much, or we might be eating nothing at all, or we might sleep a lot more than we should, or we might be staying up at all hours of the day and night. So it's really important to see how you are functioning as an individual. Is this healthy? Is it not healthy? Um, where am I on this spectrum? What's causing this? And, is it my mental health? And do I need to go and see someone about it? It also helps us to understand how we handle different things such as stress, how we relate to others, and how we make healthy choices. Mental health is important at every stage of our life, from childhood all the way up into adolescence through adulthood. And so that's basically what mental health is. And we went over this diagram last meeting, and we talked about, you know, doing a self-assessment, doing a scan of our whole being and seeing what areas we need to improve on. And there was a lot of discussion on what self-improvement can be made. Is it more study time? Is it finding that higher power? Who is that higher power that I can pray or talk to? Is it financial? Is it trying to find a job or some sort of part-time job while I'm at school? Is it more emotional where I'm dealing with depression and anxiety? And so we talked about those, and we talked about how do we create a plan of action to improve in these areas. And some people said, being more organized, uh, putting forth some effort to study more, using an alarm clock to section out my days. And what else was there? Walking more and eating healthier. So those were kind of some items that we discussed last session. And then that's okay if you get kicked out, just come back in. I saw your chat there. And so tonight we're going to go through talking about difficult times in our lives. And so this is kind of the overview of what we're going to do today. We did the welcome and introduction. We did the recap of last session. We did the clanship connections already. Then we did the guidelines. We already went through that. And so what do you face each day? So I really want to go into what this looks like right here. What do you face each day? What do you as a student, as a mother, as a father, as a son, as an uncle, as an auntie, as a child, as a student, all of those. What do you face each day? So take your phone and you see that QR code right there. This is an easier version of what I was trying to show you earlier. Take that QR code, open your camera, and put it over the code, and a website should pop up, and just click on that little website that comes up. And it'll take you right to what difficulties do I face each day? And you can put in your answers there. And remember what's shared in this room stays in this room. What's shared on Menti stays in Menti. Nope, I'll leave this up for give you 3 minutes to answer this. Oops. Okay. 3 minutes. Okay, keep sharing. I'm gonna go over to Menti and have you take a look at what's being said. Let's see. There's a QR code. I'll put it up on the screen. You can see it on the can you see that? Okay. So you take a look at the QR or the code up top, 1732-6586. That's the code. So what difficulties do I face each day? Let's go through these. We have a lot. Ooh, good. So what I like to do is I'm going to read through these, and then after a while we'll go through kind of just an exercise to get rid of the difficulties, because we don't want those lingering around, right? So let's read these. Time management. What difficulties? Stress. Just being a full-time student and being a mom of 3, being busy and trying to balance everything. Stress from college and thinking about the future. Time management, fatigue, family, school balance. If you notice, there's multiple individuals who have that, finding that balance, lack of balance, financial hardship, worrying about my kids, making sure I have spent enough time with them. Challenges I cannot control, vehicle troubles, family issues, balancing family, work, and school, not having enough time in the day to get everything done. Between work, school, kids, there just isn't enough time. Being a student, a mother of 2 toddlers, and working to support them, juggling so many things all at once. Balancing studying, work with self-care, time, juggling full-time school, part-time work, previously full-time work, kids and their activities, making dinner, housework, and finding me time, career and academic pressures, more so what will I do after I graduate, actually making it to class, balancing schoolwork, family, and life pressure, societal pressure, not feeling like I'm doing everything I can for myself, my community, not feeling like I have the energy to do schoolwork. Single mother, going to work, care for my 2 children, going to school, kids' sports, schedule, my own mental past battles. Finding childcare when needed, especially when I have evening classes, multitasking, being consistent every day, having the same motivation, but also trying to stay disciplined. Wake up early for work, then go get my boys from practice. I get back home and start homework. I help my wife get to her appointments. I only get 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night. then get up to do the same thing over. I deal with the loss of my sister. She was my biggest supporter. I deal with anxiety and depression from losing her. She was my best friend. And it's an everyday battle on how I feel each day. And I'm a single mom helping my widowed mom manage her home. I'm a domestic abuse survivor, which can cause daily triggers. I'm also trying to run my massage therapy practice part-time while going to school full-time. Mental health for me in life has been throwing me curveballs. I have to remember that I'm healing from historical trauma. As a student, I have a long commute 5 days of the week
So,
because I'm taking on accelerated nursing program, which takes precious time away from studying. Single mother, full-time work, and full-time student. Stress from trying to work, take care of my family, take care of my home, and stay on top of school. Sometimes it's really hard to find the motivation to anything besides stay in bed. I struggle with ADHD and depression, so motivation to do things is something I really struggle with. Stress, 8 years long divorce, ex always does something like denying my time during midterm. And let me see, I'm trying to see that last part of this.
it won't even-
During midterms and finals. So you can see there's a lot that we face each day, right? There was a lot of homework school balance that was being discussed. How do we create that? And I think that's um, something that we're going to be dealing with our whole life, right? Once you get into your careers, it's still going to be there. How do we create that family work life balance? Some of those include stress, and some of those include there's not enough time in a day, and how do we create more time with our families, our children? And that really does come from you all and making those decisions of what needs to be put on your plate for the most part of the day. Looks like childcare, multitasking. You see a lot of mental health in terms of stress, um, depression, anxiety, grief, loss, past traumas that are creeping up. Um, so that does play a lot into our daily lives, and it can take away from the focus of what we're trying to do in terms of making our lives better. I know a lot of you are going to college, and it can take away from that and cause us to not want to go to class. It can cause us to just want to stay in bed and just stare at Netflix for 8 out 12 24 hours. And it can cause us to not want to go to class. But it really is up to you to make that first step. And it goes back to, our sayings and our teachings that it is really up to you in making those decisions to make that change, right? Because a lot of us have gone through those cycles, whether it be substance abuse or whether it be domestic violence or, living in, I don't want to use the word, unsatisfactory living situations, or who might come from broken homes, or who might have been foster children, or stepchildren, or living in multiple um, family housing. And so we come from those places, and it's up to you and your decision of how you want to live your life and how you want to raise your children. And so taking that into consideration, we're going to go into what you want to do with this information. How do you cope? So that's the next question. So taking all of this information, how do you cope with these items that you just put up here? Sorry. Let me share this. Again, go to Menti. How do you cope with those adversities, those barriers, those hard times, those, when it comes to lack of time, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with the repercussions of not being able to find childcare, or when it comes to having anxiety? How do you deal with those different things? I want to hear some of those. So go to menti.com, enter in this code, or use this QR code. I'll give you 3 minutes.
Sam, how do I enter this? Sammy, how do I enter this? Hello?
Yes.
Each time I go to enter this code to join, I only get a black screen on my phone, so I can't even respond, and it's making me so frustrated.
Okay. If you can't get in, then you're welcome to send me or you said you can't get to the chat, right?
Yeah, I can't. I
Jacqueline,
like
it's
Yes.
the
it's saying,
chat.
oh,
I think I can do it, but like we're submitting some words in there, like statements. I
Mhm.
can't even do that, and it's making me frustrated.
Yeah, mine says voting is closed and that you have to open it up.
yeah,
Hmm.
mine too. It says
Okay,
the same
try it
thing.
again.
Yet I went to that. It says
Oh, I see it.
Mentimer, enter the code to join and vote on a presentation.
Yes, it's
Um,
closed.
and when I go to that, it my screen is just dark, so I can't even participate in this chat.
If you feel comfortable in saying it out loud, you're welcome to do that too.
Yeah, I enjoy talking.
Mhm.
Like the stress that I face every day is I take care of two granddaughters daily. I'm a divorced grandmother, and I've raised six grandkids myself, and the
Mm.
two younger ones, sometimes I get stressed out,
Mhm.
and like sometimes I need someone to talk to, and like here on the reservation in Crow, there's no confidentiality, and it's not good. Like
Mhm.
if I go and sit with somebody, then somebody else will know about my situations, and it's so frustrating. But
Mm.
um, those are some of the things that I cope with daily. I
Mhm.
start my day out at 6 o'clock, and it ends about 12 o'clock. Um, so I I sometimes don't have time for anything at all.
Mhm.
But I do a lot of praying, and I pray I daily, and I go to church, and I believe in the Holy Ghost, and sometimes I go to my clan aunts and clan fathers for prayers so that I can finish what I have started, going back to school. So
Mhm.
I rely on those really. But I, like I said, I do a lot of praying.
Mhm. Great, Francine. Thank you for sharing that. It's a lot of work that you do. And you did touch on some of the coping and how you cope is praying, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at the screen, there is another person who says praying and just realizing that it's just a bad day, not a bad life. And that's a good perspective to have. Let me read off some of the others. I try to get sleep when I can and eat healthy meals so that I feel better physically and mentally and I'm able to handle daily stress. Be open and honest with my instructors about my situation. That's really important. Communication. I reach out to friends and family. I usually listen to music. I also try to make an effort to talk to people that I'm comfortable with. I'm also trying to do some breathing techniques. Music really does help me. I don't know, going outside and talking to people makes me feel helpful. I cope by investing my time in the gym and focusing on the tasks at hand. I'm doing the best I can to maintain and keep a positive outlook that things will get better. My husband usually has to leave work early when we can't find childcare. If he can't, then I end up having to miss class. I deal with the loss by spending a lot of time with my family, trying to figure out self love by actually going through my feelings and not using alcohol to numb the pain. I pray in my language, burn cedar, and it centers me and I call back my spirit. I decide what is the most important to get done and anything else will have to wait. I tell myself that it'll be okay to let things wait. Not everything needs to get done right away. Talking to my family, taking a walk outside and doing some self-reflection, listening to music. Sometimes I just don't, which turns into procrastinating. Sometimes I'll shop, do crocheting beads, rearranging pictures I take, get some me time, listening to worship music, I'll pray, write in a journal. I cope through art. If I'm struggling, I just listen to music and paint until I feel better. Knowing all the stresses I'm currently going through now, then I look at my family, my boys are my life, and they see me doing my best. So I know they will become good men like myself. I'm doing this for my boys. They are my everything. Try to surround myself with family as much as I can. Nature walks, naps, listen to music, reaching out to family members for help. I normally shut down. I pray to God and spend time with family, go to therapy, practice yoga, even if it's 5 minutes, stop everything and play with my son, practice mindfulness, make a list of what I need to get done. When I'm stressed out, I take time for myself and do things I like, such as listening to music, reading, and painting. Try to find time to exercise. I've tried to set the time between kids' bedtime and my bedtime for housework, for homework, still trying to find time for fitness. Learn to be organized and making schedules and being sincere about time. Playing guitar, going for a walk, watching anime, talking with family, friends, or working out. Sorry guys, I'm going through a coughing fit. Having faith and prayer, it helps relieve stress, but also know asking for help is never an issue. And this has to be recorded, right? Sorry. These are very real situations that we go through, right? Some of these items, you might want to look at it looking more into detail about it. The shutting down, is there something you can do that will help to release this energy that you have? Because it's really important that you understand you know, when something difficult's happening, when something's hard happening, when there's trauma, there's usually a reaction, right? And sometimes these can be difficult. They can release different hormones within our body. And if you don't release these, sometimes it can cause sickness, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually. It can affect you in some way. And so take a look at this when you shut down, when you procrastinate, when you just want to lay in bed. Those are really major indicators that maybe you need to delve a little bit deeper and to try to find something that can be helpful, or talking to somebody who you trust, or maybe it's dialing 988, or maybe it's going to an individual at your college that you can sit down and talk to. Some of these things, such as childcare, I know it's really hard to find childcare and the cost of childcare is going up. That's something that perhaps you're looking at some resources, delving into that a little bit more, that could be helpful. I know it's really difficult right now with the cost increase of a lot of different things across the board, gas, food, and it's only making things harder for us. So looking into resources with your tribe, or with, I don't know where you live. If you live in an urban area, there's a lot more resources than on the res. So take a look into that. The other areas of coping, I see a lot of music in there. I see some art. I see some setting some time limit. I know last time we talked about creating healthy boundaries. And what boundaries are you creating when you say, you know, I need to set time from 8 to 9. I need to set time after I put the kids to sleep from 9 to 10. That's me time. Or from 9 to 10, I'm doing studying, and sticking with those schedules and following through. That's really important to creating not only healthy approaches, but also following through. That'll help to make those boundaries a little more clear. Surrounding yourself with family, I see that a lot. Journal writing. And I will tell you that if you are having a difficult time talking to someone, journal writing can really be helpful for those of us who are not willing to speak to anyone. I think you're going to be receiving a journal here soon from American Indian College Fund. And I would really encourage you to use that, and starting your own journal and writing down, you know, some of the things that you're experiencing each day, or maybe it's pluses and minuses for the day. What were the pluses today? I worked out, or I followed through with my schedule. Some and minuses might be, you know, some things that came up from the past, or something that happened that you weren't too happy about. And it can really help you to track the days, but also can help you set a reminder of, like, okay, let me look back a few months ago, and let me look at, you know, how I remember that day and how I overcame that, and look how far I've come from then to now. And it really is helpful, but it also can be a good foundation if you want to go to see a therapist or see someone to talk to kind of go through, you know, some of the areas that you have concern about, or some things that you want to talk about with a therapist or someone who's a professional, if you need that. Especially if you're kind of going into the hopelessness stage, or the major depressive, where you can't get out of bed and you can't do anything, or you're um, having that really strong anxiety where you need to talk to someone. And those are okay. And it's just basically alarming you that you need to go find some help. But taking those coping skills in terms of every single everyday life is really important to creating a healthy and balanced individual. And so I see a lot of this come through here, and it's really nice to see you all having some healthy coping skills and understanding that you don't need alcohol or drugs to get through some of these difficult times. Okay, so now I'm going to go over to the next slide. I'm going to stop this share. And I'm going to go back to the presentation. And talk about resiliency. And so, how many of you know what resiliency means? If you can raise your hand, what is resiliency? Let me see, screen share. And share. So I did another Menti on this, but I feel like we should do just people say it. What is resiliency? Go ahead, you tell me. You can unmute and tell me what is resiliency? What does it mean to you? Go ahead, Michelle.
I think resilience means to me that I have the resources or the available amenities in order to take care of my own problems.
Awesome.
Whether it be, like you said, go to the community, go to the Native American Health Center where I can get some someone to talk to, some therapy, or go to a women's beading circle, or, you know, just I don't know, you're right on as far as, you know, listen to some music, step back from whatever chaos is going on, and just be able to be self-contained within myself and knowing the triggers that go along with that.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Michelle. What about you, Ange? What is resiliency to you?
For me, resilience means just being able to withstand whatever situations you're going through,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
just being able to get through them however way you can.
Yes, exactly. Getting through them any way you can. Awesome. Thank you. Tasha?
Yeah, definitely. Having a good support system, knowing that you have a some self-awareness and, you know, someone to help you come out of that dark time, or, you know, it doesn't have to be a dark time, but just a, maybe a hard area in your life that's coming back, and knowing that it's going to be okay.
Mhm. Awesome. Thank you, Tasha. Lamar?
What resilience means to me is like getting up and doing the same thing over and over. Even though today was a struggle, but getting up tomorrow morning and going out and doing the same thing, that's the reason why we're here at college, is to better ourselves from who we were in the past.
Mhm. Exactly. Thank you, Lamar. I see in the chat, Marlene, overcoming challenges. I see Morningstar facing a problem and overcoming that problem, being stronger. Marlene, not giving up. Caitlin, be strong, stay firm, and be brave. Awesome. So, resiliency. Yes. A lot of you spoke on it. Sue, the ability to adapt to situations. Exactly. Madeline, doing things to love yourself and better yourself. Jade, staying grounded in any situation being thrown at you. Exactly. These are all good examples of what resiliency is and or what it means to you. I will say that resiliency is kind of like that rubber band, you know. If you can imagine yourself being a rubber band, you know, daily life, it kind of stretches us a little bit, right? But we ultimately come back to that same rubber band, right? We bounce back. Exactly, Reina. So sometimes we might go through some really hard times. I can remember being in college, and I wasn't the typical person to go to college. When I went to college, I had a 6-month-old, and you know, I always told myself that I would make a better life for my child, and that always pushed me through whatever I went to experience in the college life, whether that was sitting in class and being the only Indigenous person there and being looked at as, you know, what are you doing here? You know, sometimes we get those stares, and overcoming certain situations. And I wasn't the smartest person in class. And I remember the first semester I got 2 F's in a class. And it was like, you know, what am I going to do now? You know, my life's over. What am I going to do now? But after a day of sitting there and really trying to digest what happened, I decided, you know, I'm going to go to work for a while, but I'll be back. And so I eventually did. I graduated from with my undergrad, and then a couple years later, I went back and I got my master's, and I graduated from with my master's at ASU. And so it is possible that you overcome a lot of these hard times, and it is possible that you're able to remain resilient. And a little bit more on resiliency. In looking at the ability to bounce back, we as Indigenous people know resiliency very well, right? A lot of us hear stories, and we oftentimes might sit around with our family, our moms, our clan relatives, and we might go through some stories that our ancestors, you know, during the times they were at on the long walk, or when they went to war, or just some stories about growing up in the community. And that really does show some of our resiliency, and you hear it in the stories. And historically, we've gone through a lot. If you draw kind of like an imaginary line of the timeline from, you know, like your great grandmother, and how much resiliency that our ancestors have through the times when policy was enacted, when we went to war, when we were experiencing famine, when we were going through losses of, you know, just different family members, or when we were going through disease and pandemic. And again, it's repeating itself. We're going through another pandemic and we're losing people. And so our people know resiliency. Our people have been pushed and shoved and prodded at and poked at throughout the years. And so those prayers that we have as Indigenous people, the prayers from our great grandmothers and our great grandfathers, they go way back. Believe it or not, you know, your ancestors prayed for you to be right here in this specific spot. And what I believe is that you're prayed into certain places and spaces. So my ancestors, my grandmother and grandfathers, way before me, my great grandmothers and grandfathers, they prayed for me to be here. And so when you think about it in that way, it's really, really powerful that you think about all your ancestors before you who are standing beside you, who are walking with you. When you think about it in that way, it's very powerful when you take that next step that you put in your mind, like, you know, my ancestors are here with me. They're going to walk with me. They are going to give me the ability. My prayers are going to come true, and I'm going to walk the walk, right? And I'm going to talk the talk. So that's really important when I go through difficult times. That's kind of one of the things that really helps me. And when adversity hits, when stress hits, when anger comes up, when grief comes up, I do feel those pains, and I do feel sometimes that sickness, you know, that comes. It might be in the mind, it might be in the physical, and, you know, in the gut. It might be on my thoughts. So it's really important that I get that out some way. And so looking back at our diagram of the medicine wheel, it's really important to ask myself, you know, am I doing this in a good way? Am I being healthy? Am I, you know, am I okay in where I'm at? Am I doing good? The way I'm coping, is it healthy? If I'm experiencing anxiety, where is it coming from? What area is it coming from in this diagram right here? And how do I approach it? How do I cope with it? And do I need help? And so those are all very important areas that we touch on when thinking about resiliency. And of course, we've all been through COVID. We've all been experiencing some of these, you know, keep your distance, stay in your homes, keep your family safe. You know, the loss of some of our people, a lot of our elders, that might cause some pain and some anger and some tears. But, you know, just thinking about what I said about the prayers and our ancestors, you know, those are really important. And it just brings strength and the ability to overcome. The other thing is, I think that's basically it. Sorry, I'm looking at something, but resiliency. So we went through resiliency, and now we're going to strength. So after talking about resiliency and how we overcome different things, what are your strengths? I know we went through this last session, but it's really important that you start to identify strengths that are happening, taking place, that are within you as an individual, because I feel like once you start to see this and you start to think about it more and more, you start to think about your strength, it just only opens up the good things in your life, and you start to think in this more positive way. Um, I'm a social worker. I've been a social worker for 15 years. And so my focus is with children, youth, and families. And within the social work sphere, we focus a lot on strength because there is power behind that. To understand and identify your strengths, it only empowers you as an individual. And it gives you that attitude like, yeah, I can do this. I got this, right? And so I want you to go in and put down what your strengths are in this Menti poll. And let me put the screen back up so you can see what that looks like. Sorry. Play. Okay. Give you a few minutes. Won't spend too much time on this. But strengths are important. And that goes back to your clan. It goes back to who you are as an individual. It goes back to the stories that your relatives share with you. I know in Diné, our teachings in Navajo, our clans have certain stories of where we come from, where we stem from. We have protectors of our clans, and some of our clans are associated with sacred mountains. And so there's a lot of strength in them. I can talk about, the Kiani clan, Towering House, our
Quick
mountain.
question. Is there
Yeah.
supposed to be like a code for it, or is it just?
Is the QR code not working?
Oh, no, some of them are asking for a code. That's why.
Okay, let me show you. Let me stop share and let me put up the other one. And so I know some of your relatives, they talked to you about, how they overcame certain situations, especially during the pandemic. You'll hear a lot of stories from the elders of how in years past they went through the Mexican flu and how their families overcame and what they did. And so it's really important to listen to those. There's a lot of stories with the clans that are shared. So let's read off some of the strengths. Strength. Okay, let's see. So a lot of the strengths are family. Yes. God, positive attitude, empathy, communication, honesty, positivity, understanding, being a leader, teamwork, loving, always being present. I'm a protector. I am Cheyenne. Staying positive, peacekeeper. I am Kit Fox. Self-awareness, generous, helping others. Culture, cooking, creativity, helping. I am loyal, caring, faithful. My faith, loving. I'm a warrior. Awesome. There's so much there. So take a look at those strengths. And we as Indigenous people, we have many strengths. We have many, many, many strengths, and we're very knowledgeable. If you take a look at some of our practices, we don't gloat and we don't name a lot of the things that we do. We just do it, right? And so sometimes there's a lot of Western perspective that does the same thing, but they just put a name to it, right? So like take the term mindfulness. In indigenous practices, we usually, we hold space. We take time to think, we take time to pray, we take time to set intention. We take time to really, visualize our day and set forth in that path, right? But the Western perspective, they call it mindfulness, right? And so there's different situations. The stars, they tell us a lot, and our people know, and they have stories, and they have a lot of knowledge pertaining to the stars. And so we know it, we hear it in our stories. It doesn't need to be labeled and whatnot, but in a Western perspective, it is, right? And whether we have it, the times of the moon, or the stars and the constellations, and we have stories that go with those. And so it's really important to understand that as Indigenous people, there's a lot more to just our language or our homes or our food. A lot of the things that we do, we've been doing them for thousands and thousands of years. And some of those things, Western society is barely catching up with and putting a name to it. And so keep that in mind when you're moving forward in your careers, and think about some of the things that we do as Indigenous people when you're studying and you're looking at the book. Relate it back to, your way of life and your people's way of life. So that speaks for strength. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. Awesome strength here. I love it. I love it. Let's go back to the PowerPoint, and let's talk about who are you? I kind of think we went through this a little bit when I was just talking. Who are you? And what do you carry? It goes back to what I was talking about in terms of, what prayers were said for you, what intentions did your great grandmother put out for you? What did your grandmother's intention? Because, traditionally, or whatever faith you might believe, your parents were praying for you when they found out you were conceived. There was intentions put forth. There was good thoughts that, my daughter or my son, they're going to be doing good things. They're going to set out in good ways, right? So just keep those in mind when you move forward in your life, when you take those daily steps each day, right? Kind of goes back to who I am, and it kind of goes back to who are you? What do you carry? What kind of strengths do you carry? And that's kind of why had you go through and name your strengths and put forth those good energies. Before we leave today, I will be deleting all of those difficult times. So that way we can just crumble that up and squash it. So we're not holding on to that energy. And that brings me to mindfulness. Going through a brief mindfulness activity. I will do this fairly quickly. If you could all just sit. I like to do this sometimes when I'm like really anxious and like I need to like calm myself before a presentation or something. You can do this anytime. So I want you to close your eyes real quick. So I want you to close your eyes and imagine there is a hummingbird right in front of your face, okay? Imagine it's just there fluttering its wings. And if you know hummingbirds, you can hear their wings, right? And then you can feel that really cool flutter on your face. So imagine that hummingbird is there and you're just going to take a deep breath and release it. And then just imagine that hummingbird moving down to your neck. And then you're going to take a deep breath and release it. And then the hummingbird's going to go down to your stomach and right in front of your stomach. You're going to take a deep breath and release it. And then the hummingbird's going to go right down to your feet. You can imagine the hummingbird there fluttering. And then you're going to take a deep breath and release it. And then the hummingbird's going to come back up your stomach. You're going to take a deep breath. Release it. And then the hummingbird's going to come right back to the front of your face. And you can feel that flutter on your face. And you're going to take a deep breath. Release it. But you're also going to notice any tensions that you might have. Notice the tension in your eyes. Release it. The tensions in your neck. Release it. Tensions in your shoulders. Some of us carry stress in our shoulders and our neck. Release it. Tension in your stomach. Release it. Is there tension in your legs? Are you gripping? Release those. And then your feet, your toes, wiggle them a little bit. Imagine all those bad energies, whatever might be pent up in there. Release them from your toes. Let them go out. And then I want you to get your hands and put them out to the side. Wiggle your fingers. Let out all those tensions. Imagine it's escaping through all those negative energies are escaping through your fingertips. Let them flutter away. And then come back to that hummingbird that's in front of your face. And I always like to thank the hummingbird. Thank you. And then on top of that, we'll go into the you are worthy. I know some of you have heard this one before, but go ahead and open your eyes. And you're going to, we do this in Gona. So I want you to do this to everyone. You are worthy. But also, some of us have a hard time in saying they love themselves, right? We have a hard time of complimenting ourselves because sometimes we're hard on ourselves, right? But I want you to be compassionate and loving towards you because you are the only person that you need to be aware of first and foremost before you help anybody else, before you're able to care for your children or your grandchildren. So I want you to do this, if you can see me. Put your hands and do a little wave to yourself and say, I am worthy. I want you to say that out loud. I am worthy. I am worthy. And so when you get up each morning, start to put in those positive intentions, talking to yourself. I'm worthy. I'm able to do this. I'm able to overcome these hard times. and I'm able to get things done. And so just keep that with you. All right. And so those are some healthy tips, and those are some things that I like to do when I get stressed or anxiety, or when I just need a breather. But that I am worthy, start to practice that and see it really does help you in the long run. I would like to say one more thing about the let's see if I can get back to it. I'd like to say one more thing about reaching out for support. If you need to reach out for support, there are individuals in your life who you can reach out to. Some of those individuals might be people you are connected to, whether that's a mentor or some of the coaches that were on earlier. They can really be there if you need support. I know someone put in the chat talking about 988. 988 is basically like the phone number we had in place if you were feeling like you were going to harm yourself, or you had suicidal thoughts. 988 was the previous number was, it was a long 1-800 number, but now it's turned to 988, which is like 911. So 988, you can text or you can call them directly. It's very simple. If you can't get to them, there's always your local clinic. They should have an emergency urgent care, or one of the local hospitals if you really need help. So identify your trusted individual and your person that you can lean on. If you can think about that one person right now, it's really helpful to have that person in mind. Okay. It's always important to have those supports, so you know who to call on when you need help. All right. And so with that, I'm going to release you all from the circle, and Kelly Loyola will be back to say some last minute words. But remember to drink water, eat healthy, look at your self-assessment, what areas you need to improve on, and that will help you through your daily lives. You can go on and figure out, what's really causing a barrier. What do I need to improve on? Okay, Jade, I see you have poor internet connection. We have a few next time. Yeah, no problem. I'm glad I could be of assistance. But I know Kelly and Loyola should be here in a minute. Yes, appreciate you all so much. You guys teach me things too, so I really look forward to the next meeting. Let me see, who else is trying to get in? Let's see.
Cool. Hello.
There you are. I was like, where's everyone? I'm just kidding.
I made it.
I'm
Well,
here.
have a good night. I'm kidding now.
There's nobody here.
Yeah.
We all left.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I hope everyone enjoyed the session, your time, everything. Before we go, we did want to share a couple of things with you all. So first things first, let me share my screen real quick. So we wanted to share that it's sharing the right screen, right? You see the image? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. For a moment there, I was like, geez, I guess I forgot how to do this. So we just wanted to make sure that you know that the next talking circle is November 17th. And that we thank you for your time. Absolutely. We understand that you all have a lot going on and also being awesome people. And what we wanted to do for this gift this week was we're going to send out notebooks from 8th Gen. So there's 2 of them here, just to give you an example of variety. We're just going to order different varieties and send them out to you all, along with some blue corn too. So you'll have that as part of your incentive for participating this today. And the next thing is that we have a survey that we would really appreciate if all of you can, what do you call it? Complete the survey, please. We would really appreciate it. Loyola, do you want to share a little bit more about the survey?
Yes, of course. So the survey just kind of goes over the session this time around. If you were here for the last talking circle, don't worry about that one. We're focusing on this one. It is giving us feedback in real time, so we know what to update to better suit the space that you're looking for. So please do feel free to complete the survey. It takes like 2 minutes at most. It does ask for your name and your address, but that is primarily for the incentives. So where you get your blue corn mush scent, sorry, your roasted blue corn and the notebook. We're not keeping any tabs on anybody in that regard, just making sure that that's going to be where it's going to be sent. So that's the only reason why we have that. And then, of course, what was the other thing on there? The questions and comments section, please do feel free to fill that out if you have any ideas on how to improve this space, or if you have ideas for what types of incentives would be cool. Always looking for great feedback in that regard as well.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Again, please click on the link, but we appreciate your time.
And I also want to shout out that we do still have the talk space available. If you haven't signed up yet, please feel free to do so. It is free to you. Just click on the link, complete the information. And when it says organization, put college fund.
Can you talk a little bit about Talkspace, what it is? Please.
Kelly, do you want to talk about it or should I?
Yeah. I can talk a little bit about it for sure. So Talkspace, we purchased, or we partnered with Talkspace to provide virtual online therapy for all of our scholars. So if you haven't heard of that yet, we have that available. Part of this partnership is you get one video one-on-one with your therapist once a month, and then you have unlimited text messaging with them. You of course have the option of changing therapists if you're not feeling it, so just remember that. One real cool thing about Talkspace is that they find people from your area, so like the same state, so it's kind of almost local-ish. But yeah, and then we also have an app for it too. So the app is a self-pace, I guess, virtual online kind of sessions that you can do as well. So you can access that as well, because since you are a full circle scholar, you have access to that.
And I want to add too, for the Talkspace, you can be on there as long as you need. If you just need one session, I need a vent, something happened and I'm triggered, that's okay. If you want to, be on there every week, all semester, that's totally fine as well. It's all catered to your needs.
Awesome. And we were just talking about support and who do we reach out to at the end there. And so Talkspace could be your outlet if you have a need to talk to someone. So remember that, write it down, save it, screenshot it, all that. And make sure to take that survey. It's really important. I cannot stress to you how important taking that survey is. And then, of course, the 988 National Crisis Line. But otherwise, if you all are good, have a good night. And I appreciate each and every one of you being here. We'll see you next time.